So now I've got my database table completed. I've got all my forms in. I've added my suburb field in, which was a bit silly of me before. I've got my postcode set with my validation rule. I've got my state set to have default value and be a drop-down menu. And actually, if you look in the lookup part, you'll see there's my drop-down values. I've got my home phone, which has got the input mask, my mobile phone with an input mask. My date of birth is a short date field. And I've got my email address that has a validation rule attached to it. I've got my ID field, which is a long integer, which is an auto number, and my title field, which is a lookup. So everything's working beautifully. So I'm going to save that and close it. And that's really important when you're creating when you're working in databases. Only have the table or form open that you're working on at that time. If you're not working on it, close it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a data entry form. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use the form wizard because I can. It is possible to do it from a blank form and attach data and whatever else. It's not necessary for this. We'll create the form wizard. And you'll see I've got the wizard open and it's saying, hey, what fields do you want? Now I've only got one table, but if I need a separate table, I pull that down and it will find it for me, and that will come up later on. Shove all the fields across. So these fields are going to appear in my form. Next, do I want it to be columnar? I do want columnar. Tabular is not necessary. Actually, doesn't really look very good and doesn't help. Columnar is good because you get one record at a time, which is what we want. Now, if I'm using my naming convention is that I'm going to use a 3-letter prefix for a form will be FRM. And my address book, and something is about. So form address. And I want to open the form to enter information. We'll see how that looks. And there we go. Apparently I didn't name that properly. So you can see here my name is FRML address. I can rename, I'm going to close that. I got that wrong. It's not going to change anything if I rename this because nothing else is attached to it. However, don't go and rename this when you've made your form because it's already attached to the data entry form. So let's open this and you'll see that hopefully this will work for me. I'm going to add my details in, or I'm going to add some details in, and you'll see that my drop down menu is there. So my name is Mr. Who am I going to be today? I'm going to be Fred Nurk is my surname, and if any of you are named Fred Nurk, hopefully I get your address wrong. So 123 Lotus Street. There's a joke in there somewhere. Suburb. Where do we live? We live at St Mary's today. Postcode in St Mary's is 2760. Now that's interesting. The 0 was already sitting there. So to do that properly, you may need to highlight everything 2760. Now my state is New South Wales. I don't have to do a thing, which is great. My home phone number is 0212344321. Please don't call that number. My mobile phone number is 0400 00000. Again, please don't call that number. I suspect somebody might have that. And my date of birth, I can click in here and go back a long way. Now, because my date of birth is centuries ago, that will take me forever to click through. So what I can do instead is click in here, and because I know I live in Australia, day, month, year, I was born on 01/04/1900, 1st of April 1900. There you go, I'm very old. Now remember, my email address had a conditional entry as well. So I'm going to put fred.nerk.com and see what happens when I try and click out of that. It says, hey, hang on a second, you haven't followed the validation rule of someone at somewhere. So I say OK on that and change it to fred@nerk.com. And I should be right to go. So you can see I've got my data entry complete. Perfect. 123 Lotus Street, by the way. There's my data entry done. So my data entry form has worked really, really nicely. So we'll stop that video there. Next up, what I'm going to do is edit my data entry form.